WWE, the custody of a child will be determined in a match. Oh, I knew he was going to do that.
Hulk Hogan is a jabroni Hollywood blonde, but my boss, Mr. McMahon, is not jabroni. Get a horse a time, fool.
Put that cigarette out.
Will you stop?
Hola Marcos Barachas, bienvenido a nuestro especial de Historia de Lucha Borracha. That's all I know with the help with the online translator. So welcome everyone to this very special episode of Drunk Wrestling History. Happy Cinco De Mayo to all of you. I am your designated host, Adam. If you haven't seen me before in previous posts on Twitter, this is the face of radio that these guys are putting up with. Speaking of them, we've got a few legendary drunk historians with us. I can't tell who's who. Who the hell are you guys?
This is Eduardo, Woozle Wuzzle.
And this is Scott. Arriba!
There we go. Again, so this, I don't know about the order of everything being released, but this is our first episode that is being recorded live with Zoom. So there's actually going to be some video accompanying this. So you're welcome, Drunk Marks. I hope you enjoy this episode, listening and watching us, or however you want to put up with audio or sound these days. I don't know what the kids are doing, but we got a special episode for you today. Before we jump into that, you guys are going to be able to drink through those masks, right? I mean, just
Of course, I wouldn't wear it if I couldn't.
We're professionals.
of course, they've had their practice. What do you guys have at your locations?
I'm drinking a Drake's, which is a local brewery. They're Heffenweisen. I've done a local beer only pledge during quarantine, and so yeah, that's it. That's my Drake's pint glass, and I have the rest of the crowler in the room with me on ice.
And I am doing shots of whiskey chased by White Claw.
So embarrassing.
El Claw de Blanco, if you will.
And I've got 7-Up. What up?
Perfect. By the way, Adam, I want to just congratulate you on your Spanish. I've never heard you speak Spanish before.
Incredible.
Did you take Spanish in high school?
I did terrible in it. Yeah.
No, but I could tell you at least, like, you know what I mean? Like, you did. I could tell you don't speak Spanish, but I could tell that you are familiar with it a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I know a few here and there, but yeah, well, I mean, at this point, after taking all those classes, online translators are what's helping me get by with some of these, or helping get away with some of these.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, 'tis the season. Happy to make that part of the festivities for this episode.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Before we got into this, shit. You know what? I should have printed this out. This is what happens when you do a drunk podcast, you guys. I forgot to even mention to Adam and Scott that I wanted to put over some people who've left us comments on iTunes.
Oh, Chris, yeah.
Well, you know what, though? I don't have them in front of me, and I'll have to close the Zoom out on my phone to get into it. So, sorry, you guys. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait till the next episode we record. Poor planning on my part. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Muy malo.
Yeah. But this is kind of a trip, right? So just to give everyone an idea of what's going on, we did our last set of recordings right before everything shut down, right?
Literally, right before,
yeah,
the weekend before.
Right, so Adam and I lived where Adam and I lived was the first place in the country to shut down, so we actually have been shut down longer than anyone else. Scott, you were only a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days behind us, because that's when the whole state shut down. So we've been locked down for, what's it been, fucking 5 weeks, 6 weeks now?
About that, yeah.
So 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 20 years. I mean, what does it feel like now? But yeah.
Yeah, right. So we've been doing these Zoom parties the last few weeks. It was kind of like the end of March and April. I was actually gonna do a dry April. I was not gonna drink in April at all. I was gonna take a month off and get some shit done around my house. That didn't happen. We've been drunk every weekend on Zoom. Literally, this is the last weekend of April, and I've been drunk every fucking weekend. And so now I'm going to do dry May and see how that goes.
It won't go well, my friend.
Yeah. So anyway, just a couple little updates on the show. I hope you guys are doing well. And yeah, I wish I could put over those people's names who who left us comments, but we'll do it on the next episode. I'll write it down and everything. And one quick plug: T-shirts on
What a maneuver!
What a maneuver! We got T-shirts on What a Maneuver. Scott's is a fucking bootleg, you guys. I just want to point that out. He didn't buy one. Yeah. No, I'm gonna call you out right here. I don't care. But
I got both one of them. The tank top.
Yeah, they do have tank tops, but yours is not one of them. I got this. Look at this. Look how good this shirt looks on me. You guys got to get one. Whatamaneuver.net. Thank you.
My what?
I mean, yours looks good too.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you make it look good. Let's be honest.
So what to do? Yeah.
So anyway, Adam, what are we talking about today?
All right. So for this Cinco de Mayo episode, we're going to take this one back to the year of our Lord, 2005. Several months with this rivalry that accumulated, even though there were festivities afterwards, but it really accumulated with the custody of Dominic ladder match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. This one, I mean, this is like a full season sitcom dramedy that you would compare it to like primetime television. This is a really good story that stretched out for several months. You saw the foundation of like what happened between the key figures, and then how the stakes just got raised each month, or maybe like each episode, or in pay-per-view. This was really interesting and also really innovative for like the beginning of WWE era as compared to Attitude Era.
Right, because this would have been 2 years. You know, I mean, it's hard to say when the Attitude Era officially ended, but this was
a
couple years after.
Yeah.
Right, but it was still, they were. This was the.
Still a lot of Attitude Foundation still present.
Right, this is before they got rid of the chair shots to the head and the blood and stuff like that. You know, It was still fairly edgy. So like a lot of the Attitude, the guys you associate with the Attitude Era were gone for the most part, but and it was like a whole new crew. But it definitely had that Attitude Era feeling still, especially in this feud, because this feud was crazy, man.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so Scott didn't do his homework on this, right?
No, that's not true. I kind of did my homework, but let's be honest, right? We're reviewing this match, specifically the custody of a child match, because it's in our intro, and it's one of the most ridiculous payoffs ever to a feud that was stretched out this long. I mean, really, the custody of a child in a match, really?
It's insane.
It's batshit crazy.
It's
completely. And a lot of people point to it as the most crazy angle ever, or the most crazy payoff to a feud ever in the history of wrestling. The custody of a child. Who could have thought of this? I mean, come on, really?
The other ladder match that I remember that wasn't for a belt or for Money in the Bank was for Terry's management services between Edge and Christian and the Hardys.
And that was the first tag ladder match. But that was.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if there were any other things that were
sure
for grabs.
I can almost guarantee there have been.
What? Buff Bagwell's mother was on a poll? Like there was a contract for Buff Bagwell's mom or some such shit from Vince Russo booking idea on the WCW pay-per-view?
Right, and then there was like a Viagra on a poll.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was.
But no, this was nuts. So what I did, because I wanted to focus on the ladder match in particular, but what I did is I started from the beginning of the whole story. So this story ran from like February, late February, whenever No Way Out was in February.
The No Way Out interview.
And it ended, I want to say either late August or very beginning of September. So it was a long, long program, but it was front. So I watched all of it. I watched every Smackdown, except I skipped a couple, but I watched almost every Smackdown segment with the two of them, and I watched every match. So, I mean, I have 10 pages of notes here. Like, this is how much research I did. Scott watched one match earlier today.
Good for you.
So anyway, I guess we'll go ahead. So for me, this feud started at No Way Out 2005. Okay. And that's when they wrestled for the tag team titles. They wrestled
the Bashams.
The Bashams, right? Which I kind of forgot there even were Basham brothers. I don't know. Maybe it was due to their complete lack of personality. They're very forgettable.
Yeah, very forgettable.
Yeah.
Right. But it was cool. It was a good match. It was kind of they didn't do a video package before the match, so I don't really remember what set it up, and I wasn't going to go back further. Like I got to draw a limit somewhere. I'm still working during quarantine.
Ray's partner, who was supposed to be RVD, got hurt, and so he had to go pick a new partner, and he picked Eddie Guerrero, which had Rob Van Dam not gotten hurt, who knows if this feud would have even kicked off.
Really good.
Okay,
yeah,
that's crazy that you remember that.
Yeah.
So for the record, I kind of did my homework. So with that said, yes, the Bashams were very forgettable, and the tag team match itself was great because they're brothers, and you could see they're starting to plant the seeds for this upcoming feud.
Absolutely.
They're brothers, Eddie cheats, Ray's a face, but during that tag team match, to kind of jump ahead a little bit in the match, Eddie tries to use one of the tag titles to knock out the Basham. Ray stops him. Later in the match, forward a little bit, Ray slides one of the tag team titles to Eddie. He clocks one of the Bashams. Game over. Ray and Eddie are tag team champions.
Right. So they go over Right Said Fred. And yeah, now they're the tag champions. And yeah, it was cool. It was a good match. And yeah, it really started. So, okay, I didn't realize you did that kind of research. I totally forgot about that RVD thing. But yeah, it was cool. So kind of like what happens next. So now you have like a few weeks, because this was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks before WrestleMania. Right? Yeah. Chavo is kind of an annoying fucking little prick. Right? Like, I totally forgot about this part of it. But Chavo kind of starts talking shit to Eddie. He's kind of telling him that he can't handle Ray. Like you just kind of being like kind of a pain in the ass. Getting in Eddie's business and shit. And I don't know. He was just being like a bitch. What do you think?
No, he was totally disturbing everything. He was jumping in the middle of them. I think it had a lot to do with jealousy. Maybe that was going to be an angle that they played out. But yeah, it was really Chavo kind of being the straw that stirred the drink here. And that led to WrestleMania 21, the Smackdown Tag Team Champions, Eddie and Ray, facing off against each other, which had never happened in the history of WrestleMania.
Instead of putting the titles on the line, yeah. They
faced each other.
Right, which was fucking awesome. It was okay. So
thought of that.
Yeah.
So if you want to into who had one of the best curtain jerk matches ever at WrestleMania, this match is definitely in the conversation.
I was going to say exactly that because I was watching it. And so you and I were there, right? Which we're supposed to do a drink, but I got to refill my glass.
Okay, well, hold on.
I got the tiny little bit. Okay. All right.
Cheers.
Sip of White Claw. We were there. I'm actually going to refill my glass right now. Oh, bump the mic. By the way, you guys, it's a bit of a disaster here. We have so much stuff set up in order to do this because we're doing Zoom. Normally, it'd just be like a pretty simple setup, but things got a little more complicated than normal here. So it is what it is.
COVID.
Yeah.
We're taking the extra steps for all of you.
Exactly. Yeah, we put a lot of work into making this happen. Yes. But yeah, you're totally right. I think it was the best curtain jerker ever at a WrestleMania. I was trying to think, and I mean, I didn't like sit there and look up every opening match, but nothing. I mean, what could be better than this?
Look at the names involved, Eddie versus Ray. I mean, dude.
Yeah, right.
Put it right there in the conversation. If you're not going to rank it number 1, you're at least putting it in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I think Orton and Rollins, did they open 31?
I don't think that was no.
They might have gone on second.
I don't recall. They were still daytime, but
yeah, it was second or third. I thought that ladder match for the IC title led off that show.
Okay, the ladder match was not as good as this.
No. Even if that was the first match on that card, no way it was as good as this.
Right, and 32 up with the ladder match, and that wasn't as good either, especially because Homeboy won. The guy with the figure podcast.
Oh, who?
Zack Ryder won the ladder match of 32.
Who? I only know WWE employees. Who are you talking about?
Boom!
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that match was fantastic. Ray hit it was like a some kind of West Coast pop into a power. Or no, Eddie hit Ray with the West Coast pop into a power bomb, but he didn't win with that. I think Ray ended up kind of just, it was like one of those finishes where like he run with like a Hurricane Rana or something like that. So it was like he whipped Eddie's ass, you know what I mean? Like Eddie popped right up after, like Ray just kind of caught him.
Right.
Which was
Wore him
good. That
down
made a lot of
enough
sense.
just to get or to fight for the right timed roll up instead of a finish. That's what
Right. It wasn't designed to make, and it was, you know, it was, the point of it was that they both kind of looked good, you know, and Ray, you know, like Ray didn't go
they
over
were both
strong.
worn out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were still good turns after the match too, right? Like Eddie congratulated him, good match,
Yes.
blah blah blah. But that was not the end of it. Chavo continued to be a shit disturber, and that led to Judgment Day.
Yeah. So then, well, what happened was after that, Chavo started, he gets in Ray's fucking ear, right? Like saying, he said something along the lines of, Eddie's keeping his friends close and his enemies closer, you know, to kind of hint that Eddie doesn't really like Ray or whatever. And then, so then Eddie does start kind of acting like a dick. Like you start to see this bit of him where he's obviously like, he's not happy that he lost to Ray whatsoever. Like he's not over this shit, you know? Ray ends up getting jumped by Eminem, who I actually kind of forgot. I didn't forget about Eminem, but I hadn't seen him in so long, you know? It was actually kind of cool to go back and watch. So this is the first episode we've done from like that time frame, right?
Correct.
I don't think we've done anything later. Well, No Way Out 98 was probably the latest, the most recent thing we've done.
Correct.
Because this is a history show.
Something dedicated 2000s in that range.
Yeah, that ruthless aggression era.
Mhm.
Right. This is the first thing we've done. So like I forgot how many
term,
like
ruthless aggression.
kind of skipping through the pay-per-views and seeing who was on the roster at the time. Like there were a lot of people I'd forgotten about. So like I sort of forgot. It didn't forget, but you know, hadn't thought about Eminem in forever. But Eminem are whipping on Ray, beating him down, and Eddie's nowhere to be fucking found. He doesn't come out and make the save, right? You're waiting for his music to hit because you can't make a save without your music playing, obviously.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kevin Dunn.
Otherwise, it's not an official.
Exactly.
Right, it doesn't count. It doesn't, and it will be ineffective. The next week, Eddie said he had car trouble. He wasn't even at the show. Yeah, I guess some of his hydraulics fucking came loose or some shit. Right. He's driving some bootsy ass. He's driving some bootsy ass lowrider. I don't know what city he was in that had a shitty lowrider to rent, but he might have been in like I don't know.
I'm not getting any lowriders in that city if I ever visit it.
Yeah, they were probably in like Missoula or some shit like that. But then Ray had a number one contender match, which I don't really know why. I don't really go into, you know, I didn't go this deep into that. He had a number one contender match, and Eddie kind of came down to help him win and fucked him over. You know, so like that was just kind of more, you know, just more shit. At this point, it's fairly typical, actually, right? It's fairly standard tag team turning on each other fair at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like a slow build to the turn. You can see it coming, but they have to still plant the seeds for the turn. Then they lose the tag titles to Eminem.
Yeah.
And then they get a rematch for the tag titles.
Right.
That's where the shit hits the fan.
Right. Shit goes down then. Eddie loses his fucking mind.
Right. He turns on Ray. Like that's the ultimate turn. After that rematch, he refuses to tag in. He beats Ray's ass after the match, like severely, to the point where
fucks him up,
Ray's
dude.
going to make it into Judgment Day.
Yeah. Right. He fucks Ray up, dude. He suplexes him on the fucking steps. He beat the shit out of him. He did. Fucked him right
Pretty
up.
much, yeah.
He did.
Yeah, it was great. That was fantastic. And then the week after, so this would have been like, I guess, 2 weeks before Judgment Day. And this is when they were still doing the split brand pay-per-views. So you had 2 pay-per-views a month. Right. That was part of why they managed to drag this feud out as long as they did. Like the feud went on, you know, like we were saying earlier, like it went on a long time. And I think that's part of why is you couldn't do this now, I don't think, because I guess not. Wait, did they have a pay-per-view? No, they alternated months, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
they alternated, and then just a few sporadic that still appear in the middle, like all the Saudi Arabia shows or one extra.
Right. So
like that.
yeah, exactly. So you'd only have you'd only have a big match every other month, so you could extend things longer, kind of like back in the 80s when you had 4 pay-per-views a year. If you could go a full year,
Right.
So it was actually kind of cool going back and watching something that worked that way. But so Eddie did a promo the week before Judgment Day, and this is where he started getting really dark. Like it was just an immediate change. He came out. He lost a lowrider.
New music.
His music was different. It wasn't as like upbeat. It was like kind of darker music. It was similar. It was kind of the same
Persona,
song.
attire
like,
more formal, like definite mood change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was a different Eddie Guerrero.
Change, yeah.
Yeah. And he came out and did a promo, and he was like, he was saying like, think of Dominic and Alia, which is the first time his kids were mentioned. So they kind of start planting that seed, and he was like, don't make me take away their papa. Like, I think he's
ready to kill Ray, like legitimately like kill Ray. Like you show up
oh yeah.
He's teasing murder at this point. Like he's gonna kill Rey Mysterio at Judgment Day.
Right.
Yeah, I got crazy.
Right. I would call that dark.
Very dark. Yeah, and I mean overnight, like it was a little bit of shit going on with Chavo, like we said. And you could see it coming, but you didn't see it coming like that. You didn't know he was gonna start talking about murder. Threatening people's kids, like he's like a shady bookie or something.
Yeah, but that was just the tip of the iceberg for what was to come.
Right. Yeah, you never saw that. You never would have thought that it was gonna get as crazy as it got. So
hell.
Nope.
So then they go to Judgment Day. And one of the things I loved about this feud was they had it was 5 matches, right? Or 5 or 6, I forget.
Yeah.
Every match was different. None of the matches were similar to any of the other ones. They all stood out as their own match. The Judgment Day match was a fucking straight brawl. It was not a match you were used to seeing these guys have at all. You know what I mean? You would have thought you're watching like a Triple H and a Batista match or something, right? I mean, they beat the fucking shit out of each other.
They really did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially Ray. You'd seen Eddie as a heel before. You'd never seen Ray as a heel. But he was, I mean, not that he was a heel or working as a heel, but just you never seen Ray like this.
In the situation, in a fighting sense, not a wrestling sense. Yeah.
But it was cool
that's what I never associated with
Ray out in the feud.
It was what?
It was great to see Eddie bring that side of Ray out in the feud.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because exactly, like I'm saying, you'd never seen that
range,
before. Yeah, and it was crazy. Ray's ribs were taped up from the suplex on the steps because they did a suplex on the steps at SmackDown. So Ray's all fucked up. So Eddie's working the ribs. He was doing like the only time he wasn't just like punching him or like smashing him into shit was when he's doing like a Boston Crab or a abdominal stretch, shit like that. Just working that over. And it was, who was good in this actually, which I know I'm gonna get shit for this because people hate him. Michael Cole was really, really good on commentary. He was like, Eddie's sick. He's completely sick. He's twisted.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah, and you could just hear it coming out of Vince's mouth. You know what I mean? You knew that Vince was producing that. He was in Cole's ear, but he was really good.
Then you saw Taz start to kind of go over to the other side. Taz was your heel announcer.
Right.
A little bit, but even he was like, Eddie's like a whole different person now, and this is getting out of control. Like even he started to side with the face in the feud, which is really unheard of.
Right. He was getting
especially
uncomfortable.
Taz in that nature. I mean, it just shows that even though he's brutal in the ring, he still knows the fundamentals of being a human being, and so
human decency. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Like Eddie's going too far. Like I'm an asshole, but this guy's other level. I'm an asshole, but this guy's trying to murder Dominic's dad.
Right. And if you're a heel and the heel announcer's talking shit about you, you've really fucked up.
You're a complete fucking dick.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So then Chavo does a run in, and then it was kind of weird. I don't know. Did you actually watch the match, Adam, or did you just like skim over it?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
So Chavo, did you notice that Chavo does a run in and he distracts the referee. Eddie grabs a chair, right? Then Ray comes and he drop kicks. Chavo's on the apron. Ray comes and drop kicks Chavo's feet and knocks him off the apron, which apparently was like the same as like shooting him in the face because you never saw him again. He was like completely gone after that. But did you notice that Brian Hebner dove through the ropes after that? Like Chavo was already on the mat on his back, and then Brian Hebner, I don't know why. Like I don't know why there was even a ref bump. Because he died. So he dove through the ropes. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it must have been he was supposed to. I watched it back like 3 or 4 times because I was like, did he legitimately get knocked out of the ring? And he didn't. So I don't know why, but I mean, the timing of it was, I think Chavo was supposed to pull him, but I don't know how Chavo could pull him between the ropes. It was fucked up. So he's down. Eddie gets a chair. Ray ends up going for a West Coast pop, and Eddie hits him with the chair out of the West Coast pop. And Hebner at that point was back in the ring and GQ'd him. It was like a crazy finish, and it really was like, well, then why was there a ref bump? If like 2 minutes later the guy was going to get GQ'd, why would you even have a ref bump? You know, it was weird. Like it wasn't like Eddie got a pin on Ray that, you know, the ref couldn't count. So that was kind of, I don't understand. I'd love to hear an inside story on that.
Well, to keep Eddie looking strong, I would guess. Because if it's by a DQ, that's still a questionable finish, right?
Well, I mean, I thought Eddie looked strong by winning with a chair shot. Because then he beats the fuck out of Ray after.
But you got to keep Ray undefeated going into that ladder match, because that's one of the points of the feud is Eddie is 0 and whatever against Ray going into that ladder match for custody.
That
Right,
yeah,
I understand
and if
that.
you planted the seeds for bringing the family involved, and you still haven't seen the family in a peak situation yet, then yeah, it's like just keep showing his strength and keep building it to make the stakes of the final one bigger.
I understand why Ray won, and I understand why he won the way he did. But why the ref bump? The ref bump just didn't. It was the weirdest looking ref bump I've ever seen in my life. And it didn't seem to serve any purpose. You know what I mean? Like he was down and then he came back in and watched Eddie. It wasn't like Eddie hit him with the chair while Hebner was down. You know what I mean? He saw him hit him with the chair and DQ'd him for same. So.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
wrestling.
Okay, yeah, that's as good of an answer as we're going to get. Yeah, his wrestling.
I mean, we're about to talk about the custody of a child being determined in a match.
You're right. Why am I overthinking a ref bump?
Yeah, let's not overthink a ref bump here.
Yeah, exactly. So the next week after that, there's a winner's choice battle royal. And so whoever wins gets to pick a match. They get to pick. So like kind of everybody was like, oh, I want to, I think, the champion at this point would be JBL. So like pretty much everyone was like, oh yeah, when I win, I'm going to wrestle JBL. But Ray wanted to wrestle Eddie. He had said that before the match. So, while Ray's on the way to the ring, Eddie jumps him with the chair and beats the fucking shit out of him. And Ray's gone. Eddie stays in the match, but he does a he does a typical he does a George the Animal spot and stays out of the ring, which was the weirdest thing ever for George the Animal, but it made perfect sense here. And he finally gets in when it's pretty much over, and then Ray comes back. Ray makes it back, and he tosses Eddie, and they end up getting a fight outside. And then I think Ray ends up losing, right? I think, did Kurt Angle win? Do you guys know?
Oh, this part now.
Okay, all the research I did, and I didn't write down who won the Battle Royal.
God.
I'm so embarrassed. Anyway, Ray doesn't win, so he doesn't get that match. Then, then a couple weeks later, Eddie has a match with Paul London, of all people, who is another guy I forgot was even there. Ray jumped him. Dude, he hit him with a chair shot. Totally, Eddie didn't get his hand up at all. Didn't protect himself. You forget how brutal, you watch wrestling now, you don't see that. You go back and watch it, you just get smacked right over the head with the chair, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe they used to do this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it was just fucking barbaric. Like, it was like completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they had a match on Smackdown, I think the week after that. And it started off like the WrestleMania match. Like it was fairly like Lucha Libre-ish, like American Lucha Libre. Eddie's ribs were bruised because they had a fight in the back the week before. And I mean, dude, he looked fucked up. Did you see that, Adam?
That one, no.
Okay, his ribs were, he had
by this point, probably just saw segments, but not matches or segments that enhance the storyline. Then I just went to some.
He had a bruise that had to be about a foot wide and about 8 inches
Jesus.
top to bottom. Like his whole side was bruised all the fuck up. But so it starts out as a regular match, but then it turns into a brawl because Eddie starts getting pissed. And this is like I'm saying, like it's a different match from the last two. Like every match they had was different. It was fucking great. And then in the end, Ray just won. You know, it was a SmackDown match, so nothing crazy happened. But so now you got Ray is 3-0 at this point. Okay, and then you guys, I feel like I'm really carrying this episode because I'm the only one who really did any major research.
Well, you watched every single match going up to the match that we're going to talk about, right?
I know. I thought you.
I went point to point to point to point. You went.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I did.
you're doing history of every single match up to the one we're supposed to talk about.
No, I know. I went crazy, dude. I watched about 9 hours of this shit.
Un poco.
Yeah. All right. Well, we also were going to record this next weekend, and we moved it up a week.
That's what we do. We
Sure.
change
So,
things.
right, you would have had another week. So I'm bearing you unfairly. So now shit starts getting crazy, right? So a week after that, backstage, they do a little backstage thing where Eddie tells Ray he knows the truth, and which is kind of weird because once it's revealed, it's like, yeah, obviously you know the truth. You know, just the way it was phrased, it was almost like they weren't looking ahead, but whatever.
Right. Right.
And Ray's like begging him not to tell it, and so I think the week after that, so like I think that was all that happened that week. So then another week goes by, and then it starts getting crazy. Right now, you start seeing this is when you're like, what's going on here? Like what's going on in wrestling? Like wrestling's crazy. Like this was the Jerry Springer show before there was a Jerry Springer show.
It really was. It really was. That's what the whole thing seemed like.
Right. I mean, I guess this was after Jerry Springer show, but they were doing shit like this before he was.
But still,
this
that's
is
the
like
foundation of like a must-see TV show. Ooh, you got a good cliffhanger here. I have to watch next week's SmackDown to know if it is going to come out, how is it going to come out, and
right.
reactions. I mean, everything's
starts
planted. You're going to have to see it at some point.
Oh yeah, now at this point you're hooked, right? Because you're like, he's going to tell a secret. So the next week he comes out and there's like a video that Eddie had recorded. Like I think he actually even addressed it that he brought a camera crew, and it looks like a park that he's at, but he says he's
the one with Dominic.
Yeah, he says he's at Dominic's daycare, and he goes and gives Dominic candy. Like it's so creepy and crazy. And
he got in the van.
I assume he arrived in a van, but you didn't see this. Or like a van with hydraulics and like
and no windows.
Like an Aztec sacrifice on the hood.
Like JBL's Longhorns.
Yeah, like the van was pulled up to the daycare bouncing. He's hitting the switches.
By the way, please don't follow this idea for any innovation and entrepreneurial stuff after quarantine ends.
No.
Do not do this.
No. So he's out there. So like he's giving Dominic like Twizzlers, and they tell each other they love each other, and he's like they're sitting on like the slide or something, and he asks Dominic if he likes secrets and bedtime stories, and Dominic of course says yes, and then Eddie. What'd you say? The Zoom kind of glitched.
He's like a regular Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah. It's very it's like Eddie Epstein.
Right. All he was missing was a little chip with him.
Right. Yeah. So that he promises to tell Dominic a bedtime story that he'll never forget. And then he hugs him, and the camera zooms right in on Eddie's face, and Eddie has this like psychotic look on his face, like he looks like it's like Norman Bates or some shit.
Family.
So that yeah. So we jump to next week. Eddie's in the ring, and he's saying, "Should I tell our secret?" You know, now he's referring to it as our secret. So you're like, "Oh, okay," kind of, because I don't think he referred to it as our secret till this night. And Ray comes out and begs Eddie not to tell him, and it was really intense. Actually, it was a really good segment, and like Ray was literally on, Eddie made him get on his knees and beg, and then Eddie had that candy with him still that he was giving to Dominic, which is a week old at this point, and he ends up shoving it in Ray's face. And while I'm watching this, I was thinking Ray should stop wearing the contacts, because he's got the contacts in. He's in this really intense thing, and he's got these goofy fucking contacts where you can't see his real eyes. And I was like, that just, I don't know. It was just like a little detail that I'm sure nobody just thought of. But one of them fell out when Eddie fucking smashed the candy in his face.
So that's why he brought it up. I did not notice this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
right,
funny.
right. Yeah, exactly. So
All right, now I'm gonna check that out.
yeah, right. So then the next week, Eddie wanted to wrestle Eminem for the tag titles again, and Ray doesn't want to be his partner, but Eddie blackmails him. I'll tell the secret. And so now he's like torturing Ray. You're like, Eddie doesn't care about being tag team champion with Rey Mysterio of all people. He hates fucking Rey
Just wants
Mysterio.
to toy with him. Exactly.
Right, he's just being sadistic at this point. And so they wrestled them. Melina looked fucking terrible, dude. Did either of you guys see this? Back in the day, I thought Melina looked hot, and maybe she looked just so 2005 that it doesn't translate well into 2020.
Yeah, 15 years later, not so great.
Yeah, just whatever.
I know that the trend was like very bleached, but I don't think it was executed well.
And her hair looked like really fucking frizzy, like she had bleached it too much. And it's like, I don't know, like, well, I've bleached my hair a bunch of times. Your hair gets kind of, wigs out. She looked like she had like Fraggle hair or something. Like it just looked fucking bad. I don't mean to turn the episode into fuck Melina, but she looked terrible. It was a joke.
Nick Foley's going to be so pissed at you when he hears this.
I know. And he's he left us a review on iTunes. He's a very loyal listener. And
yeah,
I hate,
very upset with you.
I'm going to hate to lose him as a listener.
Yeah, it's going to suck. Thanks.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. Yeah, Eddie's just fucking around in the match. He ends up hitting Joey Mercury with the frog splash and then lifts him up at 2, like he's just like, he doesn't care. And then he tags Ray in after that actually and tells Ray to pin him. And then Mercury kicks out and then Eddie like disappears, or he leaves the match, but then he sits in a chair and just watches it and shit. And everything got weird. He just kind of screws Ray over in the match. And then Eddie jumps him after the match, of course.
Just wanted to set him up. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Then he, the next week he mentions the secret again, and he mentions Dominic. He doesn't really say what it is. He just, he kind of like, now you're like, he mentions Dominic again. You already knew it was about Dominic, but he kind of mentions him again. So you're like, you don't really know what's going on. I think he has a cold sore too. I noticed. These are those dumb things I always notice when I'm watching wrestling.
You're like the Rain Man of noticing shit.
Is that what Rain Man does?
Knows details just like that.
And
Okay, yeah. Right, I always notice the little shit. Yeah, I think he had a cold sore.
Drop toothpicks. How many? Boom.
Right. But so Eddie's like about to start telling the secret. He's going to start telling the secret. And apparently he arranged this with the lighting guys beforehand because the lights go down low and a spotlight comes on him. So like, I guess those guys.
Because it's not going to be official until that happens.
Right. You have to have dramatic lighting to tell a story.
Or wait till the replay and then you can start beating the crap out of your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Vicky comes out and interrupts him, and this is the first time we've ever seen Vicky, right? I don't think nobody ever saw Vicky before this, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the first time I remember ever seeing her. And she's like, stop it. You got to knock it off. Don't tell the secret. You're going to hurt both of our families. And she was actually really good. She was kind of, remember like when she became a manager and then like general manager, she was fucking great. Like she would get heat like nobody else in the company. And you know what I mean? Imagine coming out and being like the widow of one of the most beloved superstars in the history of wrestling and the crowd shits on you. That's how good she was. Right. Yeah.
That takes talent to do that.
Totally. And she was just a natural. Like she really just kind of had like right away. I was like, she didn't seem like a lot of these people they bring in who are nobodies. She wasn't like that. Like she was pretty good. Like not as good as she was later. She got better, but she was pretty good from the start. But then it got kind of crazy here, like kind of uncomfortable because they're up on the ramp, and she's like begging him not to tell the story. And Eddie snatches the microphone out of her, grabs her by her wrist, and drags her up the ramp and out, you know, through the curtain. And then they end up in the back, and she's in the car. Their daughters, they have 2 daughters. They're in the back seat of the car, and he's yelling at Vicky. They're arguing, and Hardcore Holly comes over, and it's kind of like, Eddie, be cool, man. And Eddie hits him, and then he turns to Vicky. He's like, see what you made me do? Like it was very domestic violence, like you know, like very abusive husband, kind of like that's what you would yell after you hit her normally, you know? Like if you just heard that, you think he hit her, like, see what you made me do? I had to hit you. You know, it was kind of crazy. So like now it's like he's kind of other level. Like now he's being fairly abusive to his own wife. Like he's obsessed with this Rey Mysterio shit. Also, this was the episode of Smackdown where Tommaso Ciampa was a lawyer.
I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was that long ago.
That black neck-length hair.
The terrible hair.
Yeah, he was.
Right, I just happened to be skipping ahead, and I came across that, and I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen that clip on NXT, but I didn't realize it was that long ago, you know? So that was that.
It was like he was a lawyer that whatever the feud was with the Undertaker, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Which not knowing what
weird.
it was, not knowing what maybe I knew, maybe it made sense at the time, but not knowing what the feud was. Why the fuck was the Undertaker involved with a lawyer?
Yeah.
Right?
But also just like unrelated to this or prepping for this episode, I remember seeing that and like, God, what a horrible attire this lawyer has. He's gonna get his ass beat so bad. But yeah, I'm at least happy that he was able to last this long. Whether like getting a foundation in WWE and then building that off and elsewhere, and then coming back and really making NXT what it is.
Right, but he was very unconvincing as a lawyer with that hair. Like,
it was terrible.
Like they definitely were like, who can take a tombstone? You know, like, put a suit on him.
Like even I would say that even around that time, we're now talking like I'm only watching wrestling for 5-6 years at this point, and still balancing off what is real, what is fake, and even that I knew that he was just very unconvincing. It was bad.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So then the next week after that, now I start noticing, where the fuck is Chavo?
Nowhere.
Did you notice that? Chavo's gone. We haven't seen Chavo in weeks. I think
Apparently
the last time we saw him was
really fucked him up.
What fucked him up?
The ref bump really fucked him up.
Yeah, apparently taking a drop kick to the feet and falling off the apron. He's been out for months.
He's done. Devastated.
Yeah, now Chavo seems
emotionally
like
damaged.
Yeah, now he seems like even more of a fucking prick because he just like came in and his ankle dropped a fucking grenade and walked off. You know?
Yeah, now look what he's done.
Like, right, he's completely disrupted the lives of 2 families and he's nowhere to be found.
Right.
Like he's a complete, complete manipulative asshole.
Well done, Chavo.
Yeah, right. So that week there was Ray had a match with Super Crazy, which was pretty cool. Eddie was on commentary, and he was kind of just talking about like, he was just kind of carrying on about how much he loves Ray, which was really twisted, you know, like I love Ray, and he wasn't really explaining why he was doing what he was doing, other than, you know, like just I want to tell the truth kind of thing. But like he's doing it because he loves Ray. It was really weird. And then he ends up jumping Ray during the match, and he breaks a rake over his back. He got the rake off of the Wandeer, which is pretty cool.
The Wandeer.
I had forgotten about the fucking Wandeer until
I knew that it was coming out in the lawnmower. I forgot that was the name of it, but that's so funny.
Yeah, me too. I had totally forgotten about the name of the Wandeer. I like that shirt. What's that? The John Deere shirt that has the deer has the big giant dick. It says John Holmes.
Yeah, John Holmes.
Yeah, John Holmes. So the week after that, so now we're leading up to the Great American Bash. And I think at this point they've already booked another match with the 2 of them. But Eddie has to wrestle a mystery opponent, and I don't remember, or I don't think I saw why. Like, so I couldn't tell you why he had to wrestle a mystery opponent, but it ends up being Benoit. Which this is I couldn't even tell you when's the last time I watched a Benoit match that wasn't a WrestleMania match. It has to be probably before he died. Right? Like, I don't usually go out of my way to watch Benoit.
Probably.
I never do.
Yeah.
I mean, my go-to with him is TLC 3, but then after that, not so much.
Yeah. It was kind of, I don't know. It wasn't weird. It was just I kind of just, noted that to myself. Like, I don't know when's the last time I saw a Benoit match, besides those ones, those shows I go back and watch a lot. But he's trying to straighten Eddie out. Like, don't do this. And he doesn't know what the secret is, but he's like, you're fucking everything up. Knock it off.
So that Radical's brotherhood just trying to knock sense into him.
Yeah, right.
Or like, yeah, just the fact that you forgot about this connection that he has. And so, yeah, throw it in and try to raise the stakes more.
Right. Well, in their history had gone back to like the WrestleMania before, right?
Oh, yeah.
You had like the end where they're in the ring together. They ended up having the match, and then it was a pretty cool match, but there wasn't much to it. And Eddie ends up getting himself counted out. He's like, fuck this, fuck you, Benoit. And on the way up the ramp, Ray jumps him from behind, which was cool. And that leads up to Great American Bash. So backstage at the beginning, Eddie announces that Dominic's going to be ringside, and he's going to tell the secret after he wins the match. So he's tormenting the fucking kid, right? Because he's bringing Dominic to watch him beat Ray up, which was pretty cool. So it's just like he's like, the guy's fucking psychotic.
Well, wasn't that one of the stipulations of the match is if Eddie won, he got to tell the secret, but if Ray won, then he didn't get to tell the secret.
I didn't see anything where that was like an official stipulation. It was more just,
not official, but still implied, like a side bet for the match.
It was just kind of like
that's the way it was treated.
Yeah, it was just kind of. It was more like Eddie's kind of like, I'm telling the secret after the match. Also, I'm going to win. Is sort of the way it came off. Like I don't remember there ever being. I don't remember Teddy Long saying like you can't tell the secret if you lose. But so here's what was cool in the match. The match, a couple minutes into the match, I start hearing their "Let's Go Eddie" chants. Right? Which Eddie's like despicable. Why would you be chanting for him? Because he's getting the shit booed out of him every other show. So I start thinking, what city do you think that would be? Like off the top of your head.
I would guess somewhere in Florida. I don't know. I can't pinpoint a city.
Okay.
Georgia.
It's weird. Georgia?
Atlanta.
Okay, so I thought Philly, right? Because Philly, the fans of Philly are fucking nuts, right?
You're right.
That's where I thought I just sort of was like, is this Philly? Because Philly or New York will sometimes shit on babyface too, but those are the two cities that are notorious for that. It was Buffalo, of all places. So apparently the fans in Buffalo are heels. I didn't know. So yeah, this was another. So this match was again totally different from the other matches. At one point, just one little thing I noticed is at one point Eddie looked like I thought he was getting something out of his tights, like a brass knucks or something like that. I think he was just adjusting his Sullivan because nothing ever happened to that. That was kind of weird, but he was very blatant about it. So that was.
God damn it.
Well, but you know what though? I think Taz even mentioned it. They were like, "What's he doing?" Like Ray was like tied up in the like a tree of woe or some shit, And I think even Taz and Cole were like, "What's he doing?" I think maybe they thought he was reaching for a weapon, but he wasn't. I think he was just adjusting his dick, which I've never seen. I've never seen anyone do that before. Not like that anyway. I mean, it wasn't like he just reached down there and kind of swished it around. Like his hands were in his tights. It was crazy.
Maybe one of his hairs got caught.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst, dude.
Yeah, he needs a manscaper.
Yeah, I'm starting to get close to that. Hey, no. We're not getting paid by Manscaper. No plugs.
No plugs. Screw them.
Yeah, only plugs for the beer, which we're also not getting paid for, but at least it's beer.
I don't think Juan Deere was in that episode, so yeah, he had to be innovative.
Yeah, he was adjusting his Juan Deere. But Eddie's like getting down there by Dominic, getting in his face and shit, like bothering him, just being a dick. And so this is like it's a really slow paced match. Like Eddie will hit a move and really let it breathe. Like it is not his normal style match, or either of theirs normal style match at all. Like, and Eddie's kind of working Ray over through the majority of it and just like fucking with him, just kind of like toss him into the steps and kind of stand there and look at Dominic, stuff like that. So it was cool. Did you watch this one, Adam?
This one, no. I mean, I just read about the stakes in it, but just still went for the peak at.
It was cool. It was a really different. I liked it a lot. I liked it because you saw something different from both of them. Like he was just torturing him. It was kind of like it reminded me of when like a killer whale like is like toying with a seal. Like the seal's fucked, but the killer whale's like flapping it. Like hits it with its tail and fucking shoots it into something. Like just toying with it before it kills it, or like a
just trying to
mouse.
mentally wear it down, or
I don't think you mentally wear down a seal.
Well,
but I mean, just
the whole concept of like you're guaranteed a victory. So. Hey, seals have feelings. Goddamn it!
Oh fuck. You know what, you guys? I'm definitely drunk because that was funny as hell when you said that. No, just like toying with it. You know what I mean? Just like he's like torturing Ray. Just like fucking with him. Because then at the end, and this is another one where Cole and Taz are really like Eddie's twisted, he's sick, he's fucked up, blah blah blah. Then at the end, he ends up hitting a frog splash. And instead of just going for a pin, he kind of rolls over and he's got his back kind of against Ray. And he's like looking at Dominic and he's saying something. I couldn't really hear him. And Ray ends up grabbing him and kind of rolling him up out of that. So he had the match won. And he's such a fucking weirdo that he ended up losing because he just couldn't control himself, because he's nuts.
He was just obsessed. It wasn't about the wrestling anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was about hurting Rey Mysterio in front of Dominic. And by proxy, hurting Dominic. It was what?
It was his descent into madness.
It really was. Yeah, and that's what you see through this whole feud, basically, from WrestleMania on, is him just getting more and more fucked up in the head. It was great. So then the week after that, Ray comes out to thank the fans. He's not wearing contacts. So he listened to me when I said that he shouldn't have worn contacts in that other segment, apparently. A contactless Rey Mysterio is thanking the fans, and then Eddie comes out, and he ends up revealing that he's Dominic's dad. And Dominic was there in the ring with Dominic was there in the ring with Ray. They're like kind of, Dominic was like 8, like I feel like they were kind of
small,
right? Like I feel like this had to be legit hard on the kid, right?
I mean, whether even though he's well grown up now, this is like some stakes that's really going to stand out, and he's always going to be asked about it because of how WWE wants to depict the real world. And
right,
in this case, yeah.
I mean, this had to be a little rough on the kid, but I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I guess you grow up and your dad's a wrestler, you're kind of used to shit like this. But he runs off. He's like, he freaks the fuck out when Eddie says that, and Ray goes after him. And then, but that's all at this point is that Eddie's his dad, or claims to be his dad. So the week after, now Eddie comes out and really explains himself. And he should have done a podcast back then, because he says that when he and Vicky were split up, he was drinking, he was partying, and having lots of sex, and he got a huge pop for that. The crowd's booing the shit out of him until he says he's having lots of sex with lots of chicks, and the crowd goes fucking crazy. And then I totally forgot. The one thing I totally forgot about was he explained that. So he knocks the chick up, and like he couldn't, like that was going to cause a problem for him. And he said Ray and his wife had been trying to have a kid, but Ray was shooting blanks. I was like, oh shit! I totally forgot about that. And then he explains that they never did custody papers. He just gave the kid to Ray. Like it was like they did like a black market transaction.
Yeah.
Like it was like you got
family here, drop it off, take care of it really quick.
Yeah, like it was like. Yeah, right. Like it was, here you go. Like it was like a transaction at the flea market or some shit. Is how I picture going on. Yeah.
Pulled out of the trunk of the car, handed him off. It was good to go.
Yeah, right. It was hella ghetto. Like now they go gets ghetto. Like it's fucking all fucking thugged out and shit. Like he met him in an alley in El Paso or something. So the next week you got Ray against Christian. And Eddie's up on the ramp. He met a chick backstage. She came out of a car, like a limo or something. And you're assuming it's Dominic's mom. And but you're also like, Eddie banged this chick? Like, she was kind of a wreck. But so he's up on the ramp with the chick watching the match. Oh, that's true. Yeah, right. That yeah. She was a 2 at 10 and a 10 at 2, I guess. But
great at 2 a.m.
Yeah. He had his tequila goggles on. But so he's out there with the chick, and he ends up revealing it's his lawyer. And he has, the week before, I forgot to mention this, he had a book called Eddie's Bedtime Stories. So this week he has it again. He read chapter 1 last week, which was, I remember
that spotlight segment.
They did another spotlight segment, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So
it's
this
not
week
official unless that's properly staged and marked and choreographed. Yeah.
Right. So he tells Ray, he gives the book to Ray and tells Ray to read chapter 2. Ray opens the book and it's actually just a paper in there that he pulls out. And then Eddie explains that paper is a notice from the court that says that Dominic has to go back with Eddie, which now is where shit's really getting completely absurd, right?
Very creative way of serving papers. Yeah.
Well, no, not that. That's not the absurd part. The absurd part is, like we kind of teased this at the beginning, that it just gets like really fucking wild with this storyline. Why the fuck would a judge say Eddie Guerrero should have that kid back? He gave him away in some kind of back alley transaction, didn't even file paperwork with the state or anything. And the judge is like, sure, give him back,
The court was probably located under the ring, like that whole hornswoggle that down there. Maybe that's the court that they went to. I mean, you saw how they ruled against DX.
Yeah, right. Or maybe Eddie's lawyer was this chick, and Ray's lawyer was Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know. It was just ridiculous. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Like, but so that's what that's what the court says. So, so then, oh God, where were we? Really, they should take. I'm sorry. Really, they should take the kid away from both of them, right? Too, because Ray also accepted a bootleg kid. Like that doesn't seem legal on his end either. Like I don't, they're both criminals at this point.
Yeah. Which explains why the custody could be turned into a wrestling match.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you jump ahead to the next week. There was so I would not have known this match was on this Smackdown, except that the little icon for it on the network was Kamala. This is when Randy Orton was doing a Legend Killer gimmick. He killed Kamala that night.
Oh,
Kamala was on SmackDown. Both of his feet were there. And so was Kim Chi. And it was Randy Orton versus Kamala.
Okay.
So going forward with the absurdity of the storyline, now a chick from Family Services is there. And I start thinking, like, they're in a different state every week on this show, and that's a state level, thing. But she's following them all across the country because she ends up being there later. Like, I don't even know what city they were in, but I doubt they were in Texas or California. Maybe, but whatever. So the Family Services chick there, and she's your typical WWE Meryl Streep level actress that they usually get.
Yes.
Right. So she's there to observe everything, just to see, I guess, presumably to observe the way they both interact around Dominic, and they're both acting like freaks at this point. They end up. Ray's wife comes out too while this is going on. I don't know why this has to all be done in the ring. You'd think this would be done in like an office somewhere, like a courthouse or something. Ray's wife comes to the ring. She's about 1.5 feet taller than Ray. So I guess that's
part of this whole thing, dude.
Right. She's like way taller than Ray.
Yeah.
I was like, love is love.
Yeah, I was like, that's where Dominic got his height from, and I assume his charisma.
Oh, like on their wedding night, she carried Ray across the threshold.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's way bigger than him. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking, wrestling's fucking crazy, dude. It's fucking nuts. Like, what are we watching? It's just like, it's completely. This is why people, like you always hear people say wrestling is like a soap opera for dudes. I've always thought of it more as like a live action comic book than a soap opera. But then you see shit like this, and you're like, it's a soap opera.
It's a soap opera. So,
Everyone, they're right. I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. See that WTF episode from South Park? Exactly.
I don't watch South Park.
I recommend WTF from South Park.
All right. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yes.
But so they're just kind of talking shit back and forth, and Ray's basically hammering that Eddie can't beat him, and Ray's getting pissed. And then Ray starts negotiating, right? He says, if you take Dominic now, you're never going to get another match with me. So now he's like using like Dominic suddenly like a poker chip, like he's gambling with him.
Really weird leverage.
yes.
Right, doing this in front of the family services chick, by the way. Then he challenges him to a custody match and calls him a chicken shit. And then Eddie says, "I'm not a chicken shit." This is all going on in front of the family services chick, and she finally has enough and says, "She says I'm putting him in foster care until we can resolve this." Which apparently resolving it is by having a match. She seems fine with that. So I don't think she's very good at her job.
For what WWE can afford, maybe she's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, that'd be kind of cool though if that's the way the real world worked though. You know what I mean? Like if you have a dispute in court, like Judge Judy's like, okay, you guys got to have a fucking ladder match. That that'll determine the winner.
Mm-hmm.
But so a week later, that's when Eddie makes it a ladder match. And Eddie just does that on his own. Ray doesn't seem to agree to it, or Teddy Long or anyone. He's just like, hey, it's gonna be a ladder match, Holmes. And which is the first gimmick match of the whole feud, which is another thing that was kind of cool about it. Like you don't get a lot of long-term feuds like this that take this, because this is August, right? Their first match would have been the beginning of April. So that's a long time to go in a feud without having a gimmick match. Normally you're going to have some kind of,
or just something at stake. But
yeah, but I think that goes to show how good these guys are, that they had 3 fucking great matches at this point and didn't need to have or 4. Yeah, 4. You know what? I think we skipped the American Bash actually. No, we didn't skip the American Bash. I'm sorry. I'm drunk. It's a drunk podcast.
Well, this is really a story they've been
we're
telling
living up to it.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, is like these guys are so good that they can have those many matches and all of them be very different from one another and not need any gimmicks. They can just get out there and tell a totally different story every time with nothing like that going on. Yeah. So then we go on to SummerSlam. Oh, the week before SummerSlam, the go home show on SummerSlam, Ray wrestled Simon Dean for no reason.
Oh God, I forget about that.
Forgot about him, right? Yeah. He came out on the Segway.
Yeah, he's very forgettable. So
yeah. But so you get to SummerSlam, and Eddie's backstage with Vicky, and Vicky's like, she's kind of saying, Eddie, it's you don't even care about Dominic, like you just care about hurting Ray because because you just want to beat him and you're trying to hurt him. And Eddie's of course denying it, and he's sort of like, yeah, I do want to beat him, but I love Dominic, and I want a Guerrero to carry on the legacy, that kind of thing.
I just think Vicky didn't want any more fucking kids.
Yeah, right. 3's enough, right? Yeah.
That's enough. We don't need this kid, dude. Leave him out.
Yeah, you're not in the main event anymore, dude. We can't afford a 3rd kid.
Also, let's talk about the match placement on the SummerSlam card.
Oh, where was it?
Number 3.
Are you guys talking with the Eddie Guerreros?
Yeah. So hang on. I'm getting interrupted by Carissa.
Dude, that had to be some kind of child abuse. Did you see that kid's face? Like, that was not cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear her, but she's saying like that had to be somewhat abusive to Dominic, like
really
legit.
Bad.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Okay, so where was the match placed on the card?
3rd. It was the 3rd match on the card. So yes. So what?
Benoit, Orlando Jordan, Edge, and Matt Hardy, and then this.
Right. Edge and Matt Hardy went on 2nd?
2nd.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you would think that the custody of a child would be a big deal, but apparently in wrestling math, now we got a new math fact from the WWE here. Children less than titles.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
I guess it is in the long run. Yes.
I didn't even notice that. That's crazy. I would have thought that would have been. I would have thought third to last, right? Because it'd be like the second biggest match, and then maybe you put Melina on in this, in the second to last, piss break match.
So people can go pee. Yes, exactly.
That's where I would have guessed it would have been. Wow, I did not. Because I just went straight to the match. I didn't even pay attention where it was on the card.
Yeah, number
That's
3.
crazy.
So the custody of a child you think would be higher on the card, but no.
Maybe you could even consider less than that because Benoit won the U.S. title in like a minute or two. So that wasn't really a fast build. It was like, very quick match. You couldn't. You could still be in the process of getting to your seat and then wondering, this is still comparatively early. Yeah.
Right.
And even the Edge Matt Hardy match that ended in a knockout.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy,
yeah.
man. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
at all. I figured with as much as they had built this, essentially from February until August, you're talking 6 months there, and it's the third match on the card.
Yeah,
I didn't like any of that. It was a really strange payoff to this whole thing.
That really is. Yeah, that's crazy. But so while I'm watching this, I'm thinking this is literally one of the things I love most about wrestling, the fucking absurdity of it. Because at its core, wrestling a lot of times is ridiculous, completely ridiculous. So Michael Cole, as the match starts, has one of my favorite calls of all time, which is in the intro to our show.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the history of the WWE, the custody of a child will be determined in a match.
Yeah.
And then Tony Chimmel announces, like, in his regular voice with no kind of, like, sympathy or anything in his voice, the following match is a ladder match for the custody of Dominic. It was great. And I'm watching this at the time I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is insane. They have to climb a ladder and pull down some paperwork. Whoever wins gets custody of a kid that one of them abandoned and one of them illegally adopted, and it will be legally binding. That's one of the things about wrestling that I love. They get these feuds going, and the way you win is a 3 count, right? Like Undertaker killed his parents, right? And Kane wants revenge for it. How does he want revenge? He wants to pin the Undertaker for a 3 count.
Right.
That
makes it all better.
With this, like, the entire, like, child's life is on the line, and it's who can climb a ladder faster. It's nuts. I love it.
It was made legit by the presence of the social worker at ringside sitting with Dominic.
That approved of this process.
Yeah.
Right. So exactly.
So there was legal supervision.
Yeah.
Correct.
So once again, and now they're in another state, right? So once again, Dominic's there to watch his dad get fucking beat the shit out of, with a ladder this time. This is another one where Cole was great because Cole actually started saying, he pointed out that he adopted his 2 sons and he understands, like, the love of a father for his adopted sons and all this, making it really hammering this home, like how hard this is on Ray.
Something similar too. Taz said something along those same lines, and really was hard against Eddie in this match and really rooting for the face, which again was unheard of for the commentary team.
Yeah, the commentary was really, really good. Like, I don't often even maybe notice that unless it's Keenan and Monsoon. It's pretty
all
rare
the factors of, like, legitimizing, like, decency for human beings. They really drove it.
Right. And Cole saying that Eddie doesn't give a damn about Dominic. He just wants to win, and he can't. This is only about beating Ray, which he's never been able to do.
We're hammering that 0-6 against Ray, too. They really
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So watching it, I was like, this is a perfect, if they had to do a gimmick match with these guys, this was the perfect one for these 2 guys. This is better than they would have a cell match or something like that. And there was some cool spots, dude. Ray hit a seated senton to the floor while Eddie was holding the ladder.
Yeah.
I think when the ladder flew back, I think it might have hit Ray in the back of the head. But it
definitely landed on his ankle too.
Yeah. And then there was the part with where I think it was Ray was in between the ladder, or maybe in between 2 ladders. Eddie did the flip over the rope onto it and squished him. Yeah, there was a leg drop. Ray did a leg drop on the ladder with Eddie in it. And then there was the part where they're on top of the ladder. Ray gives Eddie a backdrop, and they both fall off. And Ray landed on the damn ladder, dude. Which is
on his back, and it was like at a really bad angle.
And I was kind of like, and I was like, damn, dude. Like, I don't know how he didn't get hurt. Like, he didn't just finish the match. Like, he was wrestling, the week or whatever after that. I think the next Friday he had a match.
What's crazy, as injury prone as Ray is,
that was the match. Yeah.
He walked away from it perfectly fine. And there were so many spots in that match where he could have busted a knee or something. He walked out unscathed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You'd think that'd be the match where he'd get himself killed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he gets hurt on the most minute shit. But that match with all these high spots, he's perfectly fine.
Right. I saw him blow his leg out walking in the ring twice. So at one point, Eddie's on the ladder going for the contract, and Dominic does a run-in.
That little son of a bitch.
Yeah.
The family services chick doesn't stop him. I don't know where security is. They're not involved. Luckily,
the entire Usher crew knows that this is a family affair, so it was one of their briefing instructions.
Yeah, let him in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, whatever happens, dude. Luckily for Dominic, Eddie handled that better than when people normally fuck with him when he's on a ladder. Like, he didn't get punched in the face like that one guy did, right?
Yeah, in that title match, yeah.
Yeah. But Eddie gets in his face and backs him into the corner, and he's like yelling at him, "You better love me because I'm your new daddy." Essay. Like, he was fucked up.
And he was reaching back to fucking smack him.
Yeah. And I'm wondering where the hell the damn family services chick is. Like, why did she come in to save Dominic? Because he's clearly, like, being threatened. He's in danger.
She's at ringside uttering Ivan Drago, if he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Like I said, she's really bad
It was
at her
a
job.
legally binding decision process. I mean, if she interfered in the match, that would be conflict of interest. So
Yeah, right. But then there was a spot where Ray was hanging from the damn, or was it Ray or was it Eddie? I think it was Ray. He was hanging from the cable.
Yeah.
And he fell, and Eddie caught him into a powerbomb.
So I wanted to point out that move, that's the first time I've ever seen that done. 15 years later, that move is still used in the WWE video games. When a guy is dangling from the briefcase or from that cable, if you get them in a front grapple, you can jump up and you actually grab them and drop them into a powerbomb. So they continually, that was the first time I've seen it. 15 years later, they still use that spot in video games.
Damn, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
It was very groundbreaking, that match. That was awesome because they both took a spot like that. Ray dropped and Eddie dropped. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Eddie did it again too, or he did the same thing later. Yeah, it was a great match. And then at one point, we're kind of getting close to the finish. Eddie like pinned Ray under the ladder.
That was so good. That was so good.
And I've seen that a few times, but I think that was the first time anyone had done that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Someone on Twitter, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the first time I remember it happening.
Oh, and he's talking shit the whole way up the ladder, too. Like, Ray's just kind of trapped. And he's talking the whole way up. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, he yells at him, "Watch this, essay." Yeah, and then Ray ended up getting out of that, and then Eddie hits him with the three amigos, and the third amigo was on the ladder. Yeah, it was fucking crazy, man. It was a killer match. And then kind of the way it ended was Vicky does a run-in when Eddie's climbing the ladder, and she pushes him off, which I totally forgot about that. That was great. And then
that was a payoff to the earlier backstage segment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right, because he was being a dick to her, and he was being a dick to her that other time when she was in the car, and he's yelling at the kids.
Right.
So Ray climbs the ladder, and Vicky actually held Eddie back, and Ray got up the ladder, and he won, so he gets custody of Dominic. And I thought it was a really cool finish because it involved Vicky, right? It made perfect sense the way they had set it up over the last month.
A full family affair, pretty much.
Yeah, and also like Eddie he lost to Ray, but Ray had help.
Right.
So I thought I didn't think
in the process.
Right. So Eddie didn't come out of it looking bad at all. He got like the heel got fucked over. Really, it was like kind of a twist on what would normally happen. Normally the babyface would get fucked over, but the heel got fucked over.
Right.
So it was cool. So like that really was the highlight of the whole feud. That was and this has always been since 2005, this has been one of my favorite matches of all time because of the storyline behind it and just how insane it is. You know, like that for the first time in the history of the WWE, the custody of a child. Carissa never has seen that match. She's known for 10 years because I say that. I'll just say that randomly to her or whatever. Like, I've always loved this, and that call specifically. And she knows exactly, if I say that, she knows exactly what match I'm talking about, you know? Like, that's how big of a match this was to me. Like, how much I've always loved this.
And there are people that would say that Eddie and Ray's greatest match was at Halloween Havoc of '97.
Uh-huh.
And while I would agree that that was their best match, this one, despite the whole custody of a child part, the story that they told from February to August was literally perfect. It was such a good storyline, and you were so emotionally invested in
full
both
episodic
sides.
season. Exactly.
Right.
Yes, you had 6 months of storytelling to this great payoff at SummerSlam, which is the Big Four pay-per-view. You should have payoffs at those Big Four pay-per-views. I don't like the match placement at 3. I think that this match deserves to be later in the card, given its magnitude. But it goes to speak volumes about how great Eddie was, not only heel, but you flip it to how good he was as a face as well. He's one of those guys like Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert that could really tell both sides, heel and face, perfectly. Eddie was so good in both roles, and it really said volumes to how good Ray could play a face. Like, Ray was the face of this entire thing, and he played that role to a T. And I can't say enough about these guys for the story that they told from start to finish on this thing. It was incredible.
Yeah. Ray was a great sympathetic baby face.
Yes.
You know, you're always gonna root for Ray. He was, you know, great in the ring. He worked like a baby face, and then the storyline they gave him, you had sympathy for him, you felt for him.
Right.
All the way through.
Triggering so much emotional engagement. Yeah, that's what you just like
so
any show.
So kind of after that match, it was almost over at that point. I think they were in a 6-man tag the week after that. Next Friday, they were in a 6-man tag against each other, but nothing really happened. And then the week after that, Eddie was just like, Ray, I want one more match with you. He did a backstage promo in behind the cage, like they used to do for the old cage matches where he was behind it. Eddie was behind like a chain link fence, and he basically just, you know, challenged him to another match. And it was another,
that's just following resolutions after your climax of the story.
Yeah, the only thing, it was like a slight oversight, or maybe I missed it. I thought Eddie could have mentioned that he wanted a cage match so there's no outside interference, because that's typically why you have a cage match, and they had a perfect setup for that. Maybe it was mentioned somewhere that I missed, but I didn't hear that. But so basically, they were just going to go into a cage match, and it was another. It was the second gimmick match they had. It was another cool match, totally different from all the other ones, and it was again Eddie kind of. They beat the fuck out of each other. You know, it was not your typical Eddie or Ray match. No high flying, you know, hardly at all. And the way it ended was. Ray was, I forget what Eddie did to Ray, but he was fucked up. Eddie walks out of the cage. He's on the bottom step. And before stepping on the floor, he decides to go back in. And he hits Ray with a frog splash and pins him, which I thought was really cool. Eddie in the end, Eddie finally got the win, but he ended up being 5-1. I think that was a 6-match. Or 4-1.
7-1.
Felt like it, yeah.
Whatever it was, he won one match out of the whole thing. So, but he won it very decisively, like probably more decisively than any of the matches Ray won. So I thought it actually made both of them look really good, and that was it. After that, they were done. That was the end of the feud. They both moved on after that. But Eddie was going to go after Batista next, so he had to come. He had to get a win. You know. So, but it came together so quickly. I kind of wondered if they were sort of done with it, because the week that they had the 6-man tag, nothing really happened. Then suddenly they teased a cage match. So I wonder if they thought they were done with it at SummerSlam, but it was going so well, they were like, let's just do one more match. You know, like it was sort of kind of like a last minute call.
Right.
But but that's kind of basically the story of the Eddie and Ray feud.
Yeah, and unfortunately, 3 months after this match, Eddie passed away.
That was it. And then Ray ends up winning the Rumble and wins the world title in Chicago, which I would do a drink with you if I had any more, because we were there.
I'll do one for us.
I got a tiny bit out of it. But
with that, yeah.
yeah, so overall, like kind of just like I have like a list in my notes of like final thoughts on it. And number one, Chavo's a fucking prick. Right?
He played it well.
Chavo, you know what Chavo was? Chavo was Senator Palpat's fucking team.
Yes.
Right? Kind of like planting seeds and getting in Eddie and Ray's ears. Yeah, exactly, like a puppet master. And then he just disappeared. And you never really found out what his motivation was for any of that. You know, there was no payoff for him. So you kind of are left thinking, Chavo's just a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Right? What a fucking
he
asshole.
never really played a leading role in this big story.
No.
Even that social worker played was a dominant role at the end of it.
Yeah.
And Vicky and Angie.
Exactly.
Like he got in his quick swipe and ran. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's like the anger that you get from his actions stay with you, but now you have to direct it at everybody else because this coward just runs.
Right. Yeah.
Chavo got his because he had to be Kerwin the golfer.
Oh, that's right.
He got his. It's all good.
That's right, because you're right. That is when he turned into Kerwin, because he stopped doing the Kerwin after Eddie died. Wow.
Right. Yep.
So another thing I noticed during watching this and seeing like what matches were going on and what the roster was, SmackDown fucking ruled back then. SmackDown was great. SmackDown was better then than any show is now, and it was better than Raw was then. Like this is when SmackDown was really on fire.
Yeah, really strong roster.
They had Eddie, they had Angle, they had Ray, Chavo, Undertaker,
JBL,
Christian. I watched a few Christian promos during this.
Dude, they had
the Peeps, yeah.
And Cena, right. It was,
This was before that big draft when he jumped over to Raw. But yes,
right.
Cena and JBL went on for months, even though title exchange hands. That was still fire.
And probably the longest on the roster, the Bashams.
Yeah, right. Right said Fred. So another thing I wanted to mention was this might be Michael Cole's best work, like the best work of his career. He was better than I've ever heard him. And I think it's definitely my favorite feud that Eddie and Ray ever had. It might be both of their best work too. I think everybody shined, I think those guys did, the commentary guys did, even Chavo, somewhat. It was great. I think it might've been, now I've never gone back and watched an entire feud start to finish like this. It's the first time I've ever done this. So maybe if I did that, my mind would change. But having watched this is my favorite feud of the 2000s.
As far as Eddie goes, I would definitely put this as Eddie's number one. Eddie's number two would be when he had that shtick with China.
Yeah, that was great.
I loved it, but this definitely trumped that because it told an entirely, like you look at that almost being like a comedy angle and like a love interest thing. This was entirely different. This was like Eddie going psychotic.
Right, but I don't mean my favorite Eddie feud. I think it was my favorite feud of anyone that anybody had in that decade.
Oh, wow!
And that's what I'm saying. Like maybe there's some shit that I don't remember.
If it was that high stakes, then yeah, why not? I mean,
like Jericho and HBK. Jericho and HBK had that great feud later. A couple years later, there were a lot of really good ones. But and maybe I'm only saying this because this is the one I watched. But this, off the top of my head, is my favorite feud of the decade. I think.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I mean, yeah, there's wrestlers that hate each other and will wrestle each other, but they really put something big on the line to hook you in. So
yeah, and I think they both actually evolved a lot. I thought Ray stopped wearing the contacts during this feud, but he didn't. He stopped wearing them for the rest of the feud. But then I watched the network has a episode of Untold about these guys and this feud in particular. And Ray was back to the contacts at the Rumble, but he took him out for this. But it was kind of the first time Ray wasn't like cartoony or superhero-y. The first time he was ever in a real serious angle and kicked Eddie's ass. You were like, Ray's a major. This really set Ray up for that world title run the next year. Like it was kind of like you knew why he won it, but he was credible. Even if Eddie hadn't died, like it wouldn't have been out of the question for Ray to win.
Right.
And I think it really added a lot of depth to Eddie's character. And I would have loved to have seen where they were going after this. You know, like I feel like he had to have had a world title run after this.
You would think so. As much as they built those guys, at least one of the two.
Yeah, but the whole thing was great. Front to back was great. I have like literally zero. And this is a show that we usually shit on everything. Like I have like zero criticisms about anything. Like there's nothing, I couldn't find a whole plot in it or anything that didn't make sense or anything I didn't like. I
think the only criticism you had was Tommaso Ciampa, but that wasn't relevant to the story. Yeah.
And they could have found a better actress to be the lawyer or the CPS chick.
That's so minimal. So yeah, you're good.
Yeah. And I wish they would have put out a DVD of this feud. I don't think they've ever done that besides HBK and Bret Hart, but that was really just a way to get those two guys to do an interview. But like I would love, I think that's kind of over with. They're not doing a lot of documentary style DVDs anymore, but I would love, they did that short episode of Untold, but they could do an 1.5 hour documentary on this feud on the network, and I would love it.
Well, it's not very often that they do 6 to 7 month feuds, right? Like they just don't dedicate that amount of time to anything really these days. It seems to go 2 to 3 months tops and then on to the next feud.
Right.
Did a lot of time, a lot of effort into this feud, and there was a great payoff to it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, anyone listening to this, if you want to watch something great, watch this. If you just watch the pay-per-view matches and the little video package before it with the highlights, you'll really get the gist of the story. But if you have the time, like I do, watch everything. Watch all the SmackDown segments. Watch all the matches. It's great. I cannot recommend this enough. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
So this is a quarantine bingeable recommendation that you would give.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are in quarantine. Nobody's doing.
Yeah, that can be knocked out tomorrow.
Yeah, nobody's doing shit anyway. We're watching porn all day. So watch this. So anyway, I think that's about it. I think we're good.
Oh yeah.
I think we pretty much covered this.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, Adam, why don't you take this podcast home? I've had to pee for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go run to the bathroom while you close this out.
You see that? There was also a lot of tension building up with this story and building up in Eddie, so you're welcome, Drunk Mark.
My bladder is very tense.
But yeah, we really hope you enjoyed this episode, but also want to hear what are your thoughts on it. Like when you were watching, now recollecting about it, do you feel like this had the same feel like watching a regular sitcom or show or dramedy for an entire season's length? And how much did you remember about it? Were you hooked? And what are your overall feelings about it? Also, we want to hear what other legally binding things you would like to see in wrestling matches or ladder matches. We'll see how sadistic everybody is. And also, we want to keep those ideas going. So if you have any ideas for future episodes, definitely let us know about it in any of our social media platforms. Again, that handle is wrestling_drunk. Just definitely let us know. And we are pretty good on reaching out to everybody that interacts with us. And to all of you that do, you are awesome. So along with Eddie, who's relieving himself. Oh, Eddie's back. He's back. He's refilled and feels lighter than ever.
Much better.
Oh, wow. This was an exhale moment. Good job.
It was. Yeah.
All right. Well, on behalf of Eduardo and Scott, I'm your designated host, Adam. Just want to remind you to keep your buzz going. Wash your hands, watch wrestling responsibly, exactly, and stay safe. Hope you've been entertained. 1, 2, 3, Viva la Raza!
Cheers!
Arriba!